In the golden years of post-independence Ghana, an ambitious dream took to the skies. Ghana Airways, the country's national carrier, was more than just an airline. It symbolized progress, pride, and the nation's emergence on the world stage. The airline carried the Ghanaian flag proudly on its wings, and to fly with Ghana Airways was to experience a sense of belonging to an elite circle. Passengers and staff alike felt the privilege and pride of being associated with the airline. However, behind the glossy image of soaring aircraft and national pride, Ghana Airways faced challenges that began to slowly undermine its foundation. What had once seemed like a promised venture into the skies would, in the coming decades, reveal cracks that would eventually bring down the soaring national symbol. Ghana Airways' journey took flight through a 7-year partnership with the British Overseas Airways Corporation. The collaboration was instrumental in the early success of the airline. The British Overseas Airways Corporation staff initially operated the airline, while Ghanaian personnel were sent to London for intensive training, giving them the skills and expertise needed to manage an airline. In these early days, Ghana Airways was a beacon of success, and by the 1960s, it had become a truly international carrier, spreading its wings across continents. The airline's fleet, consisting of 5 airplanes, serviced major global destinations like Sydney, Tokyo, and cities across Europe and the United States. This period marked the height of Ghana Airways' success. The airline's reputation for excellence became synonymous with Ghana's global aspirations. The sight of its planes soaring across the skies symbolized the young nation's asserting its presence on the world stage. But beneath this facade of success, trouble was brewing. The first signs of difficulty began to emerge when Ghana Airways sought to assert its independence by distancing itself from the British Overseas Airways Corporation. In a bold and ambitious move, the airline bought out the British Overseas Airways Corporation's 40% stake, signaling its intention to fully control its destiny. However, this decision also left the airline vulnerable to the rapidly changing and highly competitive aviation industry. As private airlines emerged, offering better services and employing innovative strategies to attract customers, Ghana Airways struggled to keep pace. The airline's lack of agility in adapting to the shifting landscape of commercial aviation would prove costly in the years to come. One of the most significant moments during the transition was when Sir Duncan Cameron, the former chief executive of the British Overseas Airways Corporation, accepted the check that marked the buyout of the BOAC stake in Ghana's Airways. This marked the end of the British oversight and the beginning of a new chapter for the airline. However, this newfound independence came with a fresh set of challenges. Ghana Airways soon terminated its long-standing agreement with the British Overseas Airways Corporation and sought a new partnership with Alitalia for joint operations on flights between Accra and Rome. The decision to switch partners did not sit well with the British Overseas Airways Corporation, leading to strained relations between the two airlines. Despite these tensions, the British Overseas Airways Corporation continued to manage ground operations for Ghana Airways at London's Heathrow Airport, but the relationship was no longer as cooperative as it had once been. Meanwhile, Ghana Airways' financial woes were beginning to mount. By the early 2000s, the situation had become dire. The airline found itself drowning in debt, a figure that eventually reached an alarming $160 million. The airline's chairman at the time, Sir Sam Jonah, publicly admitted that the company would not survive without the intervention of a foreign partner. The statement foreshadowed the desperate measures that would soon follow in an attempt to save the ailing airline. Despite its financial troubles, Ghana Airways was still making efforts to expand its reach. In 2000, the airline introduced flights between Accra and Baltimore, Maryland, hoping to capitalize on the growing demand for air travel between West Africa and the United States. The following year, the airline added a transit stop in Banjul, the Gambia, as part of its strategy to increase its presence and meet passenger demand. But this plan quickly unraveled. In January 2002, an ill-fated flight from Accra to Baltimore left passengers stranded in Banjul. After landing for refueling, The flight departed for the United States, leaving behind the Gambian passengers who had been eagerly waiting to board. Outraged, they threatened to burn down the airline's office in protest, a public relations disaster that signaled the beginning of the end for Ghana Airways. The airline's troubles were not limited to poor customer service. In an even more embarrassing turn of events, one of its aircraft was seized at London's Heathrow Airport. The British Oversight Airways Corporation still owed millions of pounds from earlier agreements, had secured a legal injunction to seize the plane as part of its efforts to recoup the £4 million debt owed by Ghana Airways. Although the aircraft was eventually released after a $1 million payment, the incident starkly illustrated the airline's precarious financial situation. By September 2002, the airline's collapse was becoming inevitable. The Ghanaian government, desperate to keep Ghana Airways afloat, entered into an agreement with South Africa's Nationwide Airlines. Under the terms of the deal, the airline was to be rebranded as Ghana Nationwide International Airlines. But this partnership proved short-lived, and by 2003, the government had withdrawn from the deal, opting instead to form a new agreement with British Midland. The new plan was ambitious. Fly Ghana Limited, the government-backed entity, became the majority shareholder, while British Midland agreed to provide 2 aircraft for long-haul routes between Accra, London, and New York. Ghana Airways' aging fleet would continue to service other international routes, while Fokker 100 aircraft were to be used for regional flights. There was a brief glimmer of hope that this new arrangement might stabilize the airline, but Ghana Airways' problems were far from over. In 2004, it was discovered that the airline was operating under unsafe conditions using outdated aircraft and licenses. The United States Department of Transportation, concerned for passenger safety, banned Ghana Airways from flying into the United States territory. This ban forced the airline to cancel its popular New York and Baltimore routes, a move that further crippled its already shaky financial standing. The consequences of these failures were swift and brutal. The entire board of Ghana Airways was dismissed by the government, which assumed full control of the airline. But despite the government's best efforts, the overwhelming debt and operational challenges proved too great to overcome. In a last-ditch effort to save the airline, Ethiopian Airlines offered a lifeline, proposing a deal that would give the Ghanaian government a 25% stake in the restructured company. However, the government rejected this proposal, preferring to retain greater control over its national carrier. By June 2005, it was clear that no rescue was coming. Ghana Airways was officially liquidated, marking the tragic end of a national symbol that had once soared high with the hopes and dreams of an independent nation. The fall of Ghana Airways was a bitter blow to many Ghanaians. For decades, the airline had been more than just a mode of transport. It had embodied the nation's pride and aspirations. But poor management, mounting debt, and a failure to adapt to a rapidly changing aviation industry led to its inevitable collapse. The story of Ghana Airways serves as a cautionary tale, a reminder that even the most cherished symbols of national pride must be managed with foresight, adaptability, and sound leadership, or risk falling from the skies forever.